I'd like to introduce an incredible Black women warrior. We are so thrilled. The Canadian Black Standard has been going through an incredible journey in governance and being able to scale and grow. It's really important because we want this to be legacy. We want to be like 90, 100. We want to be, you know, our children are in this. This is something that we want to last in this country. And so we endeavored to go on a journey of governance to find best in class, to be our next core board of directors, and so thrilled to share that we have our actual new board chair, Deborah Christmas, who is here today. And let me just give her some flowers. Okay? She's a seasoned leader in the high-tech field and an author. Deborah's 40-plus year, 40, you hear that? 40-plus year career has encompassed sales, consulting, support channels, and managing all aspects of IT. She is the co-creator of PACE, an award-winning presentation and communications program. As well, she's the founder of, I love this name, Stiletto Gladiators. Yes, y'all better be following that too. A not-for-profit organization delivering mentorship services, leadership, professional development, and diversity coaching. With global reach, her leadership has extended across both private and public sectors, guiding teams towards strategic goals and delivering transformative technology solutions that enhance business solutions and outcomes. Prior to joining Gartner Canada, Deborah was Vice President of Hewlett-Packard Software Technical Sales for North America, South America. Hello, she is big time, and we are thrilled. We are thrilled to have this queen as our new board chair. Please welcome Deborah Christmas.
Wow, I can barely see through these lights, but I said when I came in, we need to make sure we get a picture of this, because we often don't get to see this. And this is what I call a frameable. Okay? This is what a frameable. You should take a picture, everybody frames it, puts it on your wall, so that you can look up and remind yourself when you're having a day, this is the posse that I belong to. Okay? That's what you need to say. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to be standing in this space at this time. And I say that because 44 years and counting in this field, it's a very rare day when you get to take your professional journey and merge it with something that you have done in your private, personal life for decades. And that is lift up women. That's what I do. Black women, even better. Okay. That's the icing on the cake. I live to do this. And as folks who know me, till my very last breath, I will fight this fight. Okay? I will fight this fight. Because it is our time. I'm going to say a couple of things about Black women. We are a very, very unique community. We have special gifts and special talents that, quite frankly, the world has always needed, but the time is now for us to rise up and stand up. Because we have incredible power. Okay? We are fierce, and I mean fierce. When I look at the Black women in my life, grandmothers, godmothers, aunts, sisters that have supported me, I wouldn't be standing here 44 years later without them. And they're still standing for the most part. They're still standing. And you have to do this from a place of honoring who you are and surrounding yourself with people who will ride and die with you. So I want you to take a minute and look around, because we are that people. We will ride and die with you. And that means that the power that we have to use it wisely. We have to use it generously. But we need to use it. Okay? We need to use it. I don't want anybody to leave here today not realizing that you have it. And I know that's a challenge for many. You might be at the beginning of your career. Some might be in the middle. Some might be thinking about your next gig. But when you think about Black women, first of all, we're the most educated community. But we are the most underrepresented and the most underappreciated, and that has to change. And it needs to change now. Okay? because the world's falling apart. If we haven't noticed, the world's falling apart. It's time for us to sort of step to the forefront and show them how to get stuff done.
Next play. It's Leadership is a Verb, Challenging Systemic Barriers and Tropes. You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you guys all do. You guys ever feel pressure to do it all, to be perfect in everything, in every capacity? They always say black women works 3 times as harder than their counterparts. And while strong black women, while this as a whole, strong black women can be a label, it's a hurtful one. Black women are burdened with the expectation to project themselves as strong and self-sacrificing and free of emotion in their roles. When they do display traits of leadership and traditionally celebrated by men, they are criticized. So, we must resist the stereotype of strong black women, not because we aren't strong, but the fact that we have to be everything. Now, just before I throw it to you first, Elizabeth, I will say that I was telling them a story how I made a TikTok. I'm of the generation of TikTok. And it was during George Floyd, and this was my way of actually articulating some of my feelings on this subject myself. I called it soft black women, because there's certain adjectives that we don't use with black women. I said elegant black women, feminine black women. Where are those adjectives? And when we were forced to say strong, it gives a certain perception that we could handle more. It gives a certain perception that in the healthcare system, and this is a stat, that they think that black women can handle more pain, and therefore we are more likely to suffer. Yeah. So that's why, and the irony in this whole thing, this is my rant, this is my moment. And the irony in this whole thing, is just the fact that we are strong, and that's the irony of it. Because when you're running a race, and your race is going up a hill, and you're still winning, what does that make you at the end? But at what cost? So with that, I'll leave that to you, Elizabeth. How have you faced the strong black women's experience in the workplace, and how do you deal with it?
Every day and all the time. I find it to be incredibly reductive. Because we are, of course, strong, and every professional wants to be seen as competent. But I found it's a two-edged sword, because you're absolutely right. It's almost situational. If they want us to be quiet, then it's a problem. But look, let a company be going down. I mean, there's a hole in the mast. The crew is swan diving into the ocean. Find a black woman. That's when we get to lead. That's when we get the C title, or we get the promotion, or the stretch opportunity, right? So it's which means basically you get the title, but we're not going to for sure give it to you. We'll wait it out for 2 years and see if someone else comes forward that looks like us. And so my issue with that is that I have had to deal with that a lot. I found in organizations that they love to hire intelligent women who can apply critical thought in an interview and can show them where the white spaces and the fault lines are in their organization and advise them on how they might approach that in their role. But then you get in and it's like, no, but you're on our team now. Like we're just supposed to be great and perfect, right? And so then they want to quiet your voice. And whereas that was valued initially, sometimes it can become problematic. But I have a really bad habit of speaking truth to power. And for me, that is who I am. I would rather miss an opportunity, not get it, than to sit in a room and see something that is either ethically wrong or not the right decision for the organization or stakeholders of an organization, and not say anything because it's my skin on the line. You know, and I found, though, ultimately over my career, that's what started to define me. People know when you are really in it and you've got a struggle and you're trying to figure out how to get through, then you go find the black woman. That's when you call us. But I do think it's really important that we address these things when we see them. I used to have someone that I reported into, and every time we'd have a conversation and there was a business challenge, she'd say, "I know you're frustrated," and I would just kind of be like, what do you mean? Like, first of all, I'm displaying absolutely no emotion because I'm taking in the information that you're sharing with me. So there's nothing for you to read into. And I finally asked her that. And she pretty much blatantly almost said, well, I just know, like, you can be really emotional as people of color. And I just thought, yeah, no, that was an actual statement. And this was not 10 years ago.
I'm about to throw some hands.
This was not 10 years ago.
Throw hands
at all. There, and so, you know, and that was, yeah. But we, please.
Poise, that's right.
So the way that I addressed this, I just kept asking her questions. Well, why do you think that? Why do you? And so finally, it caused her to look at herself and say, oh my God, you're right. I sound totally obnoxious. And these are all my views. This is nothing you've said. This is nothing I've ever seen exhibited in your behavior. And so for me, I find a good way to getting to those kinds of issues and addressing them at the root with an individual, because you got to pick your space and your time, right? I would not have done that at a boardroom table. But is to ask them questions to show them themselves. Because I can't give you something to respond to because you're just going to read into it what you want to anyway. So there's that part of it. And I think the other part is insisting on being seen as an individual. What I appreciate about what we've all accomplished, all of us, because we're all leaders, is that we have the honor of bringing our ancestors in the room with us and creating pathways for people who will follow us. But what I don't love about that same thing is it's a burden on us. Because when I walk into a boardroom as Elizabeth, I'm not Elizabeth. I'm the black woman who represents every other black woman, and they want me to give them the black woman's view, as if there is just one black woman. So that's obviously a huge problem in and of itself, and so there's pieces of this we have to start tearing apart, but I think that comes from honest, direct conversation and showing people themselves, and refusing to be a part of that, and being able to speak your truth and be comfortable voicing that. And again, there's a way you do everything, but frankly, we can't let these things go unchallenged, because if we do, and they'll say, oh, you're different. Now you're exceptional, right? But everyone behind you still has to deal with the same thing. So you kind of have to just call it out when it happens. That's my view.
I like the fact that you call it out. I love that. And that's something that's it's a skill to be able to do, I would say, even, because a lot of times I think we and I speak for myself intentionally, like, I will let things go under the rug. I think I'm getting better now in my career of like, be like, wait, hold up, I'm gonna check that. But it's not easy to call things out. It's easy to just let it slide. So good for you on that one. Angela, we'll go for you, and then we have to hear from Renee, and then we have a third place. So we got a lot to talk about still.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I think I can't imagine that there's any black woman in the corporate environment or any working environment, who hasn't had that experience of facing so many false stereotypes of what it means to be a black woman, and defining for us, who we are. That happens all the time. What I would say is, I think the interesting thing when I thought about that question, I think we're wired to be strong. We really are. And in the corporate environment, when you're often the only one in the room, when you have rarely got sponsorship, when, and I think we all know what sponsorship is, someone that really advocates for you and someone that has your back and someone you can trust, and someone that lifts you up, all of that. If you don't have that genuinely, then you depend on yourself. And that's a lot of where the strength comes from each and every day. You just know that it's up to you. And so lots of teaching moments in the moment to address issues in the moment. I think for me, I came from a family or an environment where my mother was a very strong black woman. She had to be. I admired her and watched what she achieved in her career and how she never complained. And she just, kind of had everything, organized around the house and got things done, and then got up early and walked out the door and got it done at work and came back home and got it done again for us. And I think that's all I ever saw. So I think I'm not unique in that. I know there's many people in the room that can relate to that experience. And I think it serves me well. It's not easy being the only one. It is extremely lonely all the time, because you really don't always know who you can talk to. You don't know who you can trust. You don't know if people are going to rewrite the things you say with their own narratives. And you just don't know what's said about you when you're not in the room. And so it does take a lot of strength. I think for me, resilience, I think you used that word in your opening. All I can say, I count on that every single day. I've learned to also be reflective, to not make knee-jerk reactions to things, to take a day and think about things. I no longer feel the need to rush answers, and just to not be forced or pushed or coerced. I'm okay. I've developed, I think, a level of confidence that I can take the time to listen, be thoughtful, be direct. I can say things that people don't necessarily want to hear, as long as I do it respectfully and leave integrity intact. That's truly one of the things that I prioritize every single day. And in the space of EDI, it's extremely sensitive, and you're dealing with people who are at different spaces and places in their journey and have had different types of lived experience. And oh, by the way, it's all of us. It's all of us that are on this journey. Not all Black people are in the same place. Everybody's also had their own trauma and their own lived experience. And so, yes, absolutely, as a Black woman, I've had the experience, but I think I've kind of learned how to just pause, just be reflective, just take a moment, take a beat, right? Take some time. I do a lot of yoga. A lot of yoga, and I've learned how to breathe. And I say that with all sincerity, a lot of deep breaths. And I know it doesn't sound like much, but sometimes you just have to walk away because you cannot believe what somebody has said. You cannot even understand that they don't understand the weight of what they have just said. So, quite frankly, I'm okay if we are called strong Black women. It's a hard road to get there, a lot of hard knocks to get there. We have earned it, and I think it's what we do with it when we are in the room. Don't worry about how you got there. Just take advantage of the fact that you're in that room. Take up as much space as you can. Be heard, and be unapologetic. It's not about being disrespectful, but it's just about saying what needs to be said in the most respectful way and making sure people understand the journey we've been on and what we need from them in order to truly advance this work. I'll stop there.
I love that. Renee, just jump right on in.
Yeah, I will. So it's interesting, right? Words have the meaning we give them. And somehow we've taken this moniker of strong Black woman and made it into something that is, we've let others' interpretation of that reduce us at times. And I think, I think about situations, I've watched my daughter in situations, myself in situations where my strength was actually not saying something, but then picking the time when I was going to definitely address the situation with the individual in question, including my boss at certain times. And when you're in a situation where you're feeling like you have to dim your light to fit in, is when you got to ask yourself, are you in the right room? Right? So that notion of being able to vote with your feet, of being able to find your people, and you said this thing about it's so lonely at the top. Well, or in leadership roles, seek out other leaders, seek out another reference group of people that might be in similar situations, build your network, have people you can go to, your own little mini board of directors. I got one of them sitting right here. Hey. Deborah gets my phone calls. Can you believe this just happened? And because there are people that have blazed the trail in front of us, all of us, right? No matter where we are, at whatever stage of the career we're in, being able to tap into that and being able to stand in your power, quite frankly, but do it in a way that's not taking it away from anybody else. But that, that tall poppy syndrome that you talk about, where, standing out. We walk into a room 9 times out of 10, we're the only female, sometimes definitely the only Black female, and certainly in a technology industry, that's where I've worked most of my career. And, you just got to get comfortable, man. You're going to stand out. Get comfortable with it, shine, do what you got to do, and do it in a way that's still, as you said, respectful. But by the same token, the moniker can be whatever the meaning you give it. And, it's time we turn that into something that's of power for us. So let's say.
I love that, each of the panelists, you guys have your own different interpretation of what strong Black woman means. And I love that you internalize it as a positive individually. I love that you guys are both recognizing the pros and the cons that come with it as well. And to your point, you know, Renee, for myself, I'm 6 foot, okay? I'm wearing heels tonight, okay? I'm 6'2" tonight, okay? And I love the quote, why fit in when you were born to stand out?
Absolutely.